Okay, so today is Tuesday, 26th of January. So today's graphic fits in perfectly with what we're doing today. What you see is one cell slowly becoming two cells. And that's what today's target is today you're going to describe the stages of a cell cycle. And when we're talking cell cycle and mitosis, we're talking about body cells. We'll deal with meiosis and the sex cells or gametes later when we do genetics. So right now, this is what is happening right now in your body in certain cells. So what you see is the chromosomes, which we talked about yesterday, becoming thicker so you can see them. The chromatids separate, pulled to the other ends, and then the cell closes and you have two brand new cells. Okay, so that's kind of the graphic that's key for today. Your mind stretcher will be recorded in your data tracker in 7E, and scores so far have been really good. Okay, so our target today is describing the stages of the cell cycle. Before we do that, I want to go over yesterday's mind stretcher. That was a bit of a struggle. And talking to the students in second period, it seemed to be the graph that was giving people trouble. A lot of information is put in graphs, and graphs are a common way for science, social studies, math, and being able to interpret those is a key skill that will help you out in the long run. Okay, so see here. You were given this graph and paramecium, and you need to think about that. They're in a petri dish. This is an ecosystem for the paramecium. So basically, you're answering a question as if it was in a whole ecosystem because the same concepts still apply. So over time, over a 2-week time, you see the population gradually increasing and then it kind of levels off. Okay. So they're not putting anything new in there. And that's what the first question asks. After day 14, it asks you to extrapolate or predict what would happen to the population of paramecium. So they're not adding anything new. So think about that. They're in this ecosystem and nothing's being added to this. What do all organisms do? They eat. And if you're not adding new food, what's going to happen over time? So you should have predicted that this line would then start going down and decreasing as the paramecium started starving because they did not have food. So if you do not add resources, and the same in an ecosystem, if a predator, their prey, a disease attacks and infects their prey, and their prey's population decreases, well, of course, the predator that eats the prey is going to decrease too because its food supply went down. That's the same thing that's going on in this petri dish. So you should have predicted a decrease in population. And the next question is kind of related to it. The next question asks, what if we add something new, another paramecium? And think about this. The key word is competition. So no new nutrients. And now we're going to add another organism in that's competing for the same amount of food. Well, what's naturally going to happen? Food is being taken away from the original, so their population will decrease. So competition between species will decrease another population, depending on who's better adapted for that environment, who's faster, who can get to the food, who has better tools. Will depend on which species population is the one that survives. But both populations will decrease because of that competition. And over time, the one who is better adapted is the one who will come out on top. So I just wanted to go over those two questions from yesterday's mind stretcher to make sure everybody understood. Okay, for today's lesson, you have, let me pull it up. In your notebook, in class notes, you have this anticipation guide. So you haven't had, or you shouldn't have had, a lot about mitosis and cell cycle in middle school. So you probably don't have a lot of background knowledge on this. That's okay. The closest you probably came in 7th grade when you did the cell theory, and the part of the cell theory that new cells come from existing cells, that's setting the foundation for this lesson. Okay, so your first step is to go through your anticipation guide and put a T or an F. Is the statement in this first column, do you agree with it? Is it true? Put a T. Do you disagree? Put an F. Okay, then what you need to do after that, then you're going to watch the video that's in Canvas. I would suggest turning on the closed caption or opening it in YouTube and looking at the script also. You probably want to watch it through first just to get the feel, and then watch it again to get the details. So you're going to watch the video and then go back in your notebook and you're going to answer true or false. Now that you have that background, now that you watched the video, is that statement true or false? And then you're going to explain your final answer. You're giving evidence to support what you said, true or false. Now, here's a heads up. Evidence or an explanation is not the video said so. Okay? So pick facts from the video that support that. All right. Then, so you filled out the table, you watched the video, then you're going to read pages 130 to 131 in the textbook. And that's where they break down the stages of the cell cycle. Because what's our target today? Describing the stages of the cell cycle. Okay, so you're going to read your book. It's also in your OneNote, so you have them because that's our target. So you want it in your notebook so you can refer back to it. And it has the pages here. You're going to list the 4 stages, and I would do it like a bulleted list instead of running on paragraph, because stages. So you're setting your brain up to see it visually. So if you're tested, because it happens in a certain order, it helps your brain remember things if you put them in that order. So I really do suggest you make a bulleted list. I would highlight or make bold the actual stage and then just type up the description. So you see that you have them in a list and you've called your mind's attention to the stages by either a bright color or bold or a different font, but somehow you want to make the names of the stages pop so it pops into your brain. So you're going to put the stages here, write a short description of it, copy that, and then that's what you submit into Canvas. Now, you may have noticed, I'm sure I've used it the last couple days. I'm sure your English teachers are using it also, probably social studies. When you go to turn something in, you have a little extra box you need to check. That's the Turnitin app. That's the plagiarism app. And what you'll do is you'll get a report. You'll see the same report I will, and it will highlight, it'll check all the resources in the internet, and it will match with what you said to what's on the internet, and it'll show correspondence. It'll even show where the site that it came from. Okay, so you see the same report I do. Just give me a heads up on that. There is a little box, you just check it that you agree. Okay, so to recap today, before the video, true or false? Watch the video. Now is that statement, go back in, and is that statement true or false? Give your evidence to back what you stated. Read pages 130 to 131, and then list the stages of the cell cycle with a short description, copy, paste into Canvas, and have a great day.